Namaste and welcome. Today I will be reading a response to a question sent in by email. But before I do, I would like to let you know that I will be offering online satsangs beginning this first week in February. This satsang series will take place over 6 weeks, once per week, and will loosely follow along with the 6 chapters from my book, The Hidden Value of Not Knowing. The satsangs will begin with a short quote from my book, and then we will have time for satsang questions and sharing. If you would like to register, there will be more information below this video, posted on the Facebook page and sent by email. I love you so much, and I look forward to our meeting. Today, I am reading a response to a question that says, how do I compassionately acknowledge a story in order to let it go? When we acknowledge our stories but remain aware of what has no story within us, we naturally begin to let go of the personal meaning about who we are within that story. From the introduction to the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, there is a story I will read about a man within the Toltec tradition who wakes up one day and sees himself as a mirror of God's reflection that exists beneath the smoky illusion of his story. This passage reads, one day, as he slept in a cave, he dreamed that he saw his own body sleeping. He came out of the cave on the night of a new moon. The sky was clear and he could see millions of stars. Then something happened inside of him that transformed his life forever. He looked at his hands, he felt his body, and he heard his own voice say, I am made of light. I am made of stars. He looked at the stars again, and he realized that it's not the stars that create light, but rather light that creates the stars. Everything is made of light, he said, and the space in between isn't empty. And he knew that everything that exists is one living being, and that light is the messenger of life, because it is alive and contains all information. He continued saying, everything in existence is a manifestation of the one living being we call God. Everything is God. And he came to the conclusion that human perception is merely light perceiving light. He also saw that matter is a mirror. Everything is a mirror that reflects light and creates images of that light. And the world of illusion, the dream, is just like smoke which doesn't allow us to see what we really are. The real us is pure love, pure light, he said. This realization changed his life. Once he knew what he really was, he looked around at other humans and the rest of nature, and he was amazed at what he saw. He saw himself in everything, in every human, in every animal, in every tree, in the water, in the rain, in the clouds, in the earth. He continued saying, he could understand everyone very well, but no one could understand him. They believed that he was an incarnation of God, and he smiled when he heard this, and he said, it is true, I am God, but you are also God. We are the same, you and I. We are images of light. We are God. But still, people didn't understand him. He had discovered that he was a mirror for the rest of the people, a mirror in which he could see himself. Everyone is a mirror, he said. This mirror is what we are truly seeking, to see our own true self in the mirror of life itself, to find what exists that is constant at the baseline of your own being, is to know the fabric of your own self is one with all of what is, and all of what is God. A devotee once asked Ramana Maharshi, "What is God?" Ramana paused and then simply replied, "What is God." Especially within harsh circumstances of pain or struggle, we might long to feel that all of what we experience is a form of God. We might ask, how can we reveal this true mirror? Because we might find that, like this short story describes, our own stories have become like a fog or a smoke that clouds over our true reflection. So what role does telling a story play in this process of discovering our true reflection? During my own process of healing, I would see a therapist once every week. She had survived breast cancer twice and worked with many patients who also experienced different forms of illness. Her approach to therapy was, "You are not your illness." This is just like saying, "You are not your story." And yet, she compassionately listened as I told her my story. She acknowledged what I had experienced without creating identity around it. She never took any notes. She did not apply any judgment or meaning. Her presence simply acknowledged the parts of my experience that had been silenced, dismissed, and unheard. Some parts of my experience are still considered taboo to speak about in society. She never fixed anything about me, and her presence was much more than therapy. In the presence of her love, my stories transformed and became parables and pointers for what exists beneath all stories. At the same time that I saw her, each week I would also visit a local Christian minister who had offered his time to me when he heard about my illness. He did not know the story of the illness, and that's not why I went to see him. I came to seek God in the midst of my daily experience. I enjoyed speaking with him because on his bookshelf there were religious and spiritual books from all the traditions. We did not speak of any personal story or even much from the Bible. We spoke of recognizing the one thread of truth in all things, of finding God beyond and within all forms. In therapy, I wanted to know myself, and in church, I wanted to find God. At some point, these two desires merged and became one, because ultimately, neither the storytelling nor the discussions about God could survive the edges of my own consciousness in the moments of extreme pain that I experienced. At the edges of consciousness, sometimes we may find what it is that can truly never leave us. Only God can survive the edges of consciousness. Only your true self can see beyond the edges of vision. You are the one that is deeper than all of the words of any conversation. You exist already at the heart of true prayer, and you already embody your own highest self. There is only one that can never leave you. Beneath each story that we tell, every experience that we can see, we always remain here, but we are as what is unseen. You that is unseen, unknowable, but somehow always knowing. You find by losing your sense of personal self. It is not a process of becoming better, but instead a process of undoing and unknowing. We may realize that we are nothing, but not a stale or empty nothing, not alone as empty, worthless people. We are one with all that is, one with light and love, one with the silence of God's own presence. If we are in pain or distress, we might greatly misunderstand what it means to say we are nothing. It might seem too cold or too harsh, and we might resist its true meaning and instead hold more tightly to our stories for a sense of comfort and meaning. So sometimes there is value in acknowledging and telling a story in order to let it go, just as there is value in feeling close to God through our prayers and meditations. We may long to see at some point that we always embody the essence of true prayer, that we are the ultimate value, that we exist as the nothingness that is always already overflowing with divine love and meaning. Simply, if everything we can see about our own self and our own lives can disappear in an instant, even if just at night when you go to sleep, if even your own consciousness can leave, we may come to investigate and see that we are already here as the one who never leaves. From page 46 of The Hidden Value of Not Knowing. Whatever may occur in our physical illnesses and our emotional turmoils is first informed by this divine heat. In behaving, it acts and moves, but doesn't judge or condemn. It doesn't hope or despair. It knows no boundaries, but it is not passive. It dissolves the personal, removing passive or aggressive from our personality. It may look like crying or laughing or rolling on the floor in pain, but internally, we disengage with the mind's view of what is occurring and stay as the one behind the implications of all occurrences. We will never see or meet this one, not in the way we are accustomed to. Our attention must invert to what is immediate but unfindable. It has infinite depth, but is nearer than close. It is the nothing before the next something arises. It must compromise the integrity of our puppet shows until all storytelling dissolves into our earliest vision, the ground that is always stronger. We do not need to wait to fix our stories or to dissolve them any further. The real rest and peace exists always now, beneath all that we see, and is never waiting. Stories may be told for practical reasons, to make it easier for others to connect with us and to communicate our needs. Seeing through a story does not mean that the events of the story never happened. It means letting go of its meaning about who you are. It means letting those facts remain as raw facts and letting those feelings remain as raw feelings without labeling any of it good or bad, right or wrong. It is possible to tell a story while knowing inside that it is not who you truly are. Whether we tell our stories or keep silent, inside all that is needed is to recognize who you truly are, below the smoke and shadows of those stories. Your clear reflection exists even before the fog has cleared. Why wait to see yourself as you already are right now? God's true face looks out at you in each moment, from every direction, as the mirror that is never waiting to show you who you are. I love you so much.